Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing another video in SolidWorks. And my goal with this video is to walk you guys through some tips and helpful shortcuts that will hopefully make your experience in this program easier and more fun to do. And this video is going to be for beginner or even more advanced users. You'll probably end up getting something out of it. I've never been able to find a video that encapsulates a lot of the things that I would want to learn when it comes to building stuff for off-road vehicles. So hopefully this video I cover a lot of things that you guys will find useful and will be able to apply to stuff that you're trying to build. A lot of the things that I'm going to be covering in this video I wish I knew when I first started out in this program. It would have saved me a lot of time. Even more recently when I was doing the beam kit, I didn't know some of these things and I would have saved a lot of time there. And I'm not any sort of certified SolidWorks expert. I've learned everything in this program on my own, watching YouTube videos or just going through and trying and figuring out what different tools do. At the end of this video, I will talk about some people that you guys can watch on YouTube to help learn some things and some videos that I've watched that have been super helpful. And if you guys have anything to add on how to do things more efficiently than what I'm doing, please comment down below so we can all learn and get better in the program. I also wanted to mention that those of you who are really itching for another 92 F1 rebuild video, next week we'll likely have a video out on that, so stay tuned. And with this video, let's see if we can get 500 likes. So go down there, smash the like button. That'll just help this video reach more people and help the channel grow, so please go ahead and do that. That's kind of all of the disclaimers that I wanted to get out of the way, so now we'll hop into SolidWorks and get started. I thought I would go ahead and show you guys some of these tips and tricks by just building something. So I'm going to go ahead and build a radius arm mount. You've seen these on the 92 F1 build and the ones that we did for the diesel build. I'm going to go ahead and design one of those. Hopefully that's similar to something that you guys are trying to design, or even a part that you are trying to design, so you'll get something out of it and learn how to do it efficiently and just learn some of the tools that I'm using. So right now I already have up the steering swinger for the 92 F1 build. This we haven't cut out yet, that's going to be coming soon, but I just had this design open. And so we'll go ahead and open up a new file. You can go up here to file and just hit new, and you can go that way. Or you can also just tap R, that's your recent. So also if you're trying to open recent files, this is super helpful. You can go ahead and just go there rather than file, open, and try and search for it. It'll usually be right here. And then you can also go home and then new part, so that's what I'm going to do. My computer's definitely not the quickest. I built this thing back in 2012, so she's pretty dated, but it still gets the job done when it comes to this program. So to get started, I'll go over and right click on here and hit sketch. And then one tool, if you guys didn't know this, I didn't learn this till more recently, and it's so much more efficient. If you tap S, you can bring up these shortcuts and just go from there. And you can even go in and customize this menu and choose exactly what you want to be in there. So that's super helpful. So we'll get started. Go S. I'll start with a line, come from the origin, and also just type in 0.25. So if you guys don't know how to do that, that's in the settings. If you go tools, and then it's called auto dimensioning, you can turn it on. It's usually not on in this program. And that just allows you to do things more efficiently. So rather than drawing the line and then going up to the dimension tool and doing it that way, it's a lot faster. You can just type in the number as you're drawing the line and it will auto dimension it. So we'll click on this and we'll just make sure it's vertical, and then that way it's not going to be acting all weird. And then go ahead, start just filling out. I'm doing the big side of the radius arm mount right now. I figured it'd be easier to start that way. So we'll kind of get going with the shape of it for now. I'm actually going to go ahead and make the circle portion. You guys will see what this is in a second. And let's make that 3, and let's make this, let's say we're going to be running a 3/4 inch bolt that's going to be capturing the heim. So we'll put that there. You can see things aren't really to scale yet. We'll get there in a second. So I'm going to move this down for now, and then we're going to draw one line coming from the back here. Make sure it's tangent. You guys will see that pop up right there. That second yellow little guy right there means it's tangent. So go there, and then I'm gonna make just a center line going across just to make sure this is right horizontal. And then what I'm gonna do to make sure that these two lines right here are equal, rather than dimensioning out both, I'll just shift select both of them and make sure they're equal. All of the dimensions that I'm using for this are just kind of random. You would need to get these numbers on your own, going and looking at the truck and figuring out what's going to work with the frame rail, how far below this bolt hole needs to be from the frame, things like that. So all these numbers are kind of just random, although they could be used on an actual truck. So just know that I'm not referencing off something specific on a truck when I'm putting in these numbers. And so let's just call this one right here. Let's make that 10. That's going to be the length of the radius arm mount. This thing's looking a little funky right now. It'll look right in a second. And then let's go here. Let's dimension this out. Let's call that 6 inches. And we'll set both of these to be equal. And then that way that thing's centered in there. And then we'll also dimension just the height of it from the bottom right here. And let's call that 4 inches. Again, these numbers are just random for the purpose of this video, just to make things a little bit quicker. So things are starting to take shape here. Hopefully, if you guys have seen a radius arm mount, you can kind of get where I'm going with this. And then I'm going to do something a little bit different and actually go here, make a big circle. Let's make that, let's try 12 inches, see how things look. And then we'll go here, make sure, shift click, make coincident, and then we'll make it touch this circle as well, make tangent. So bam, just like that. And then I'm gonna go to the trim tool. Again, you can go in here and customize and add all these. This is the trim entities tool. I'm just gonna drag and it'll delete the rest of the circle. So we just have this part right here. And then I'm also going to dimension out from the center of the hole to the front. I'll come down and let's call that 3 inches. Again, just a random number. And then you guys probably know where I'm going with the trim tool now. Just delete the rest of that circle. And that is like a rough shape of the side of the radius arm mount. The only thing we're missing is the bolt holes that are going to be mounting it to the side of the frame. So let's go in and add that. One way you could do it is, let's say we go to the fillet tool. We'll put it in as a 1-inch fillet, and then let's select these 2 edges up here. Hit yes, and then so now you see we have a nice rounded edge right there. And then I'll go back to the circle tool. We'll just throw these here. See, we want to run a 1/2-inch bolt. I'm not going to define that one. You'll see where that is, how that goes in a second. And I'm going to take a center line, go from here down to here, escape to get out of that, and then draw another line right here. And then I'm going to go to this one, make sure those are parallel. You guys will see why in a second, to position more bolt holes. Make this parallel as well, and then we will add another bolt hole. So we know that it's going to be parallel to the edge of this, and it's going to look in line, and it's not going to look weird like they're just randomly placed bolt holes. So I'll add 2 more. Bam. I'll go to another center line here, and then we'll make sure that this line right here is horizontal. That way those things are in line with each other. And now any blue line means that things are undefined, so we need to go ahead and fix that. And so first of all, let's get these defined up here. And we'll shift click all 4. And since that this first one was defined as 1/2 inch, when we set equal, they'll all go to 1/2 inch. And so anytime you want to change that, say you want to run a 9/16 bolt now, you'll go here, go to 9/16, hit enter, and every single one will change. That way you're not going through and changing the dimension for every single bolt hole. So hopefully that makes sense. That'll just make things easier when you're going ahead and trying to build them. Whenever I'm building a part, I try and keep in mind 2 things. One of them is designed for manufacturability. So am I going to be able to actually make this part with the tools that I have? And the second thing is design for changes. So if some parameter in the design changes, is it going to be easy to change, or am I going to have to go through and go to a bunch of different things and be changing around numbers? So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you design things efficiently. That way you can change things around pretty easily. But yeah, so I'll go back through. You can see these holes are undefined. The reason that is because they can go up or down on those center lines. So we'll just add a dimension. And let's say that's 1 inch above there. So now you can see they're defined. And then the last thing that I think we need to define is going to be the center of this hole to here. Let's see. Let's give that a try. And let's call that 3 inches below. That'll be below the frame rail. So you can see everything's now defined. It does look a little messy, so I'm just going to move some of these dimensions around to make things a little bit cleaner. There is proper ways to do this. I am not familiar with them. I just get things to where they're easy to see and I know exactly what each number represents. But I will probably go and learn how to properly dimension things in the future. So now that everything's black, it's fully defined, this sketch is done. So we're going to exit out of here. Bam. You can see we have a full sketch. Now that the sketch is done, we're going to make it into an actual part. Whenever I do that, I use sheet metal and I don't make it a body. And the reason for that is when it comes to making drawings, you can get the flat pattern of things when you're using sheet metal. And so to make this into a sheet metal part, I'll go ahead, hit the sketch, make sure that's selected, be in the sheet metal tab right here, hit base flange / tab, and then you'll see this pop up. You can see it's been extruded. And over in here, sheet metal parameters, this right here is going to be the thickness. So it's at 3/16 right now, so we want it to be 1/4 inch. We'll hit enter, or before we hit enter, we'll just type it in, check everything else, and hit OK. And there you go. So you can see we extruded it and it put it on this side of the plane. So say for instance that's not right and I want to go back in and change it. I'll go here, edit feature, and just hit the reverse direction. You can see how it flips when I do that. So bam, reverse direction, done. Now we're on the other side of the front plane, which I actually wanted to do anyways. We now have the first piece created for the radius arm mount, and we have 3 more pieces that we need to make, and you guys will get some good tools out of this on how to do this efficiently. And so the first thing I'm going to do is do a sketch on this side, and then I'm going to use this convert entities tool, and I'm going to click on all of the edges in here that I want to convert to my new sketch. So I want this, I want the hole, I want this edge, and that's it, and you'll see why. So I'll hit OK, and then I'm going to draw a line just connecting that. So bam, we have a fully enclosed drawing, so we'll exit out of that sketch. And now I'm going to use a body. I'm not going to make it into a sheet metal part. That's because I'm going to end up using convert to sheet metal in just a second. So I'll go through, go to features, extruded boss base. We'll hit that. And then this width is going to be the width of the misalignments on the heim. So let's just say that's 2 1/4. Bam, you can see what it's going to do. And you also have this merge result, which I'm not going to do because that would merge it into the sheet metal piece, and I do not want to do that. So I'll uncheck that, hit OK, and now you can see the line splitting them because they're separate pieces. Now you're probably looking at this and going, what the heck is he doing? Why is this here? And the reason is for this convert to sheet metal tool. And so if you go here, using a body, you can click on all the surfaces of the body to make a sheet metal part. So we'll click on this outer edge. You can see it gives you a preview. And I have keep body checked on, which is important for right now. So I'll hit OK. You can see what it did. I didn't even have to make any sketch or drawing for that. So I'm going to go back through, convert to sheet metal, and now I'm going to click on this top piece. You guys can see the preview. And then I'll uncheck keep body. So the body that we're referencing this off of is going to disappear now. So hit OK. You can see we have the 3 plates. So you can see how easy that was. Rather than going through and creating all these separately and trying to remember some of the dimensions off of the original drawing, you can just use a body and convert to sheet metal, and it's super quick to do. And so the last thing that we would want to add as far as plates would be the one coming down right here. And so I'm not going to use the convert to sheet metal for that. I'm going to go ahead and use the base flange, and that's going to require us to have a sketch. So I'll just click on this face right here. Now we're in a sketch, as you can see. And so to get started, I'll just not even use my shortcut. Hit S, go to corner rectangle, come down. And I'm not going to go all the way down to this line right here. I don't want it to snap in. I'll unclose it, and then now we'll just go power trim, take off that last edge, escape to get out of that, and then we're going to do a line, and then you can see it's snapping in to be perpendicular to those other lines already, which is good. And I want that to be 1/4 inch. And I'll hit escape again, go back to the line tool, come over, I'll just tap, I won't dimension it, and then I'll just set these two equal and to be collinear. So equal and collinear is this one, which just means they're going to be along the same line. And so those are perfect. We'll do a center line here. And what I'm doing is just trying to have a radius on there to go around the heim once the heim's in there. So I'll just have a center line come out. I'll do this guy right here, make a circle. For these radiuses, I'll usually use 3 inch. That's pretty typical for things that I'm doing. And then so we'll escape out of that, go here, shift tap the circle and that edge, and then it went away, the preview box was up, but I'll make it coincident and you can see what it did. And then I'll also click out of this, click this circle, or click that point and the circle and make that coincident as well. And then we'll go to our power trim tool and take off the rest of that. So you can see how that is now. You can kind of see what I was going for. And you can see we have some blue lines still. And the reason for that is because we're missing 1 dimension. So let me get these out here so we can see this real quick. So this is for the circle. So say for instance I wanted to make that 4 inches, I can always change that. But I'm going to Control Z that because I like 3. So the last dimension we need to add is how long this edge line is. Even though that's black, it's not defined in length, which is messing up all of this right now. So I'm going to go to the dimension tool, and then I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click on this right here, and then we'll just dimension that. Say we want it to be 1/2 inch. Maybe you could start with that, throw a heim in the assembly, see if it clears, and then change and adjust it according to that. But you can see now everything is defined. So I'll exit the sketch and it'll automatically pop up to a preview of what it's going to do. And you can see that it's extruding this feature the wrong way. So I'm going to reverse direction and you can see things are right. And say I want that to be 3/16 and not 1/4 inch. So I'll override the default parameter and set it to 3/16 of an inch and hit enter. You can see it changed in the preview. Then I'll click OK because everything's right. And bam, you have that last piece on there. Usually on a mount like this, you have a hole or 2 in this top piece to bolt on to the bottom side of the frame rail. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to sheet metal, we'll go to extruded cut, and then we'll tap on this face right here, and now we're in a sketch again. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to a center line and go down. You can see it snaps to the midpoint of that line, and we'll snap it to the midpoint of this. So now we have a line going down the middle of this plate. And it's kind of hard to see, it's that light blue, but it is there. So we'll pop in, make a circle for our hole, say I want it up here, and again say I want that to be 1/2 inch. We'll hit enter, and then it's still undefined because it doesn't know where on that center line that hole needs to be. You can say you can just move it around freely. And so say we want to go in, dimension it, and then we want that to be 3 inches from the edge. So we'll hit enter, and we'll exit out of the sketch. It'll automatically go to the extrusion tool, and we have some options here. So you can do blind and set a number of how far you want it to be extruded through. You can also do through all, which will go through all the pieces that are there. Or for this instance, I do up to surface, and then you got to select a surface, which would be the bottom of the plate. So you can see in the preview, it just cuts through that and nothing else. So that's good. Hit OK. And now we have that hole there. Whenever you're making a piece like this, one thing you also have to keep in mind is how you're going to put it on the vehicle. So for instance, when we have this hole right here, we're going to have a bolt, which means we're going to have a socket and an extension that need to fit in here. And it could be hitting this plate right here. So to make sure that it's not, we'll take a measurement real quick. And so we'll go normal to that face. This is one way you can do it. And then we'll also go in and hit sketch. So now we're sketching on the bottom of that plate. And let's just draw a center line real quick from the center of here. Bring it over and then have it run in to that. So from this view, it would be as if you were going with your socket and your extension and your ratchet, and you're just trying to tighten it from directly underneath. And so this line, the length of it needs to be at least the radius of the socket. And then so we'll click on this line. You can go ahead and you can do a dimension and figure out what it is through that. Or one other thing you can do, whenever you click on any sort of line in this program, down in the bottom right, you can see it says length, and it'll give you that measurement. So we're right at about 1.5 inches. That's plenty to get a socket and extension in there. So we're all good. We don't have to worry about things not being compatible and not even being able to get this on the truck. So we're good there. We'll exit the sketch. You can even delete it if you'd like. I'm not going to, just for the sake of the video. But that is pretty much the basic mount. You could always go and add overlays on here around the bolt holes or on this whole face just to strengthen things up. But you can see how easy it is once you learn some of these shortcuts and some of the different tools in this program. I really like tooling around in this program and just learning things and building things in here. It's super fun. It's kind of a mental challenge. And you know, if you're designing a part, it's not just a one-off thing, and you can make more down the road using this. Now, the nice thing about how we did some of this stuff is that it's designed for changes. So for instance, if I go back to this base flange, go into the sketch, edit, and say, you know what, that 10-inch overall length is going to be too much. We need to bring that down to 8. Hit enter, and that's looking weird now. So you know what, I don't want this to be 6 inches. I want it to be 4. And so if you had these all as separate pieces and they weren't all linked, you'd have to go through and change those dimensions, at least that overall 8-inch one on a lot of things, and it might mess things up. But if we exit our sketch and go back to our design, you can see everything compensated for that number. So it's super nice to know that you can go back in and easily change dimensions on your drawing and not have to redo a bunch of things. Another thing that might be useful to you guys is the equations. So if you go into tools, hit equations, and go here, we'll add a variable. Let's say we want a variable to be the distance that the hole for the heim is offset from the edge of that plate. So we'll just put heim hole offset, just something random. And so we'll hit equal, and then we'll put 3 inches. Gives us the OK. It evaluates that as 3 inches. So we'll hit OK. So now we have a variable called heim hole offset, and it's a distance of 3 inches. So if we go back into our first sketch right here, which looks like there's a lot of dimensions, looks really complicated. But if you remember this 3 inches down here, that it was offset from the face, if we go in and hit equals heim hole offset, bam, right there. Now it's linked to that variable. You can see the little equation pop up right here. We'll exit out of that sketch. Nothing changes because it's the same distance. And then if you remember, this top bolt hole that we did right here was also 3 inches. So if we go into here, we edit that guy, double click, equals heim hole offset. So now those things are linked. They're the same distance and they correspond to the same variable. Again, nothing changes because that was 3 inches as well. But now, say for instance, we wanted that distance to change and we wanted that bolt hole to move forward, and this one would move forward with it as well. So if we go to tools, go to equations, you remember we set it here. So say for instance, now we want that to move forward and we want it to be 2 inches. Watch what happens to the drawing when I do this. So I'll hit enter, and you can see everything compensated and moved forward. So we'll hit OK just to get out of this. This hole moved forward and this one moved with it. So rather than going through each of those sketches and changing them, they were linked through a variable, and we know now that we're still going to have that clearance right here for the socket and everything to get in there, and we're not messing up and just changing one and having issues down the road. One big thing that I didn't know when I was first starting out, and even when I designed the beam kit, is that you can have all this stuff in one file like it currently is, rather than being saved as separate files. And what I mean by that is when I was first designing parts, each one of these plates I would have saved as separate files and then put them together in an assembly with mates. That's super inefficient, as you can imagine, having them all separate and then going through having to mate them all together, when I can just do what I just did and be fine. And if I wanted to just take out one of these plates and export it as a DXF file in order to get cut out, I would literally right click on it, and you can just hit export as a DXF file. So that's way easier. I didn't know I could do that when I was first starting out. Hopefully you guys know that already. Otherwise, you just got some big information like I wish I had back a little while ago. And then the other thing, let me save it real quick and I'll show you what you can do in a drawing just to get one of these plates in a drawing rather than the whole thing. And then now I can go File, Make Drawing from Part, and I'll show you how to just get one of these plates in there rather than all of them. And so we'll hit OK. That's just the standard sheet size. And you can see what I was talking about. If we put this in, it puts in the whole piece and not just a single one. So here's how you get around that. We'll delete that. And I'm also going to take off the sheet format because it's not necessary for what we're doing. And then now if I go up here, I can hit Model View. We want it from the radius arm mount that we just made. So we'll hit that. And then we can go Select Bodies. So what that's going to allow us to do, it'll open this. We can select one of these pieces rather than using the whole thing. So say for instance, I just wanted this piece. I'll hit that. Hit OK, and you can see we get a little preview box up here. For some reason it's down at the bottom too, but I'll just click. It inserts just that piece as the flat pattern rather than putting the whole part in there. So we can go through, if we wanted to save this as a PDF and do it by hand, we change the scale to 1:1, hit OK, move that onto here, File, Save As, PDF, print it out, cut it out by hand, there's your template. And so that's one nice thing to know as well. I didn't know you could do that. Again, that's why I used to save everything as separate part files, and it was super inefficient. So we just covered a lot of things when it comes to designing parts and some of the shortcuts and tools you can use to do that, and then how to export individual pieces as DXFs, as well as how to make them into drawings for the individual pieces rather than the whole part. So I hope that's useful for you guys. I hope you learned something in that. Maybe you can go back and try and make this part as well, just for some extra practice using some of those tools and those tips. One thing I do want to go back and mention for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Convert to Sheet Metal tool that we use to make these faces is that you can also make pieces with bends in them doing that. So we'll just go back up real quick. You remember I made the side and the top pieces out of two separate pieces? Well, we could have made that out of one. So I'll just take it back for a second. We'll go through, we'll edit this feature. So you can see we already have the side as a preview. Now if I hit this line right here, the edge of it, and tap that, you can see it puts a bend in it. Obviously that's a gnarly radius. So we'll go through, and which one would it be? We'll override the default parameters. This is the bend radius right here. So this depends on the die you have in a press brake or whatever shop does. Say they have a 1/4 inch die that you want to use, you'll hit enter. And then we'll take the body out, hit OK. And you can see we have that piece in there, and it's a press broke edge. One thing you got to keep in mind with this though, or any piece that you're designing, is that it's going to run up costs when you have press brakes done, and you might not even be able to do it. So you always got to think about those things. If you wanted to do a press broke design, that's how you would do it, and it makes it super easy using this program. So I thought I'd just mention that, but I will take that back and we'll just have our normal two pieces and our full design. So that's pretty much it as far as this video goes. This is another piece that I recently created for the pre-runner, and this just shows what you can do with this program and some of the tools that I just showed you guys. I hope you guys got at least one thing out of this video that you didn't know beforehand. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, you can go ahead and apply that to your designs now. And again, let's try and get 500 likes on this video. So if you haven't done that yet, go down and hit the like button. If you guys want to learn more about this program and some more shortcuts, I do have some video recommendations for you, which I'll link down in the description. And those are by a guy named Too Tall Toby, who's a certified SolidWorks expert. And he's a wizard when it comes to sheet metal and shortcuts and doing things efficiently. So I'll link those down below. They're about an hour long each, but they're super beneficial to watch. And a lot of the stuff that I showed in this video, I learned in his videos. So go down, check those out. You'll learn even more, and it's an awesome resource to have. That's going to wrap it up for this video though. Again, hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.